You can read it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Isaiah 56:1. Thus saith the Lord, keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil.
Read that again.
Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keeping his hand from doing any evil.
And I was dealing with this early in the morning when the sun was coming up. And the key thing about this is it says, thus saith the Most High, keep ye judgments and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Which links directly to the coming of Christ when he says, take heed that your flight be not in a winter, neither on the Sabbath day. So there's a key indicator when it comes to the Sabbath, it's based on everything. It's based on the information that get revealed, where we need to be when it's time. So the Most High was giving us a clock, not just for the holy days. He was giving us a clock from Sabbath to Sabbath to know that no matter what we're doing during the week, during this time, you better be on point. Between this time and this time, you must be totally linked to me, because that's when it's going to happen. Don't forget, in Matthew 23, it said, when the disciples asked Christ, what shall be the signs of thy coming and the end of the world? That Sabbath was in the 24th chapter. Pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. So he was telling us that flight is more so, is deeper than make sure you're not running. Like in 70 AD, when we had to flee and they came against us in the winter and knew that we had a law not to fight on the Sabbath. So the enemy always came at us on the Sabbath, knowing that we couldn't fight. That flight actually means away from the Most High's commands for those that's in Christ. We can't be away from our duty on the Sabbaths. We can't. Grace is one thing. Grace is when the law can apply. But if brothers and sisters and all of us have been given grace to be able to make our choices on the Sabbath, then there's no more grace. If you have a choice, then we follow what's written. You understand? Grace only applies when we can't follow what's written. Listen to what it says. Thus saith the Most High, keep your judgment. Keep ye judgment and do justice. What do we link to all this? For my salvation is near to come. This is Christ on his way. And my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the Son of Man had laid hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keep his hand from doing any evil. Right? Now listen to this here. Read.
Verse 3. Neither let the son of the stranger that have joined himself to the Most High speak.
And that's speaking of Gentiles. The sons of the stranger that have joined himself with the children of God. Read.
Speak, saying, the Most High hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree.
See that? So this is speaking of all. This is speaking to the Gentiles that have linked to the Most High's people. Everyone must be in the same vein during this come. Right? Speaking of his Sabbath, read.
Verse 4. For thus saith the Most High unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths.
To the eunuchs that keep my Sabbath. These are they who decided not to deal with a woman. It's not just speaking of physical eunuchs that were made eunuchs. This is speaking of brothers who made a choice to stay celibate. Now they are married to the Most High for a whole other purpose. Right? Read.
For thus saith the Lord unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me.
Read that again.
For thus saith the Most High unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me.
And choose the things that please me, showing you that doing the Sabbath is a choice. It's a choice. Right? Now, we don't want to get caught with all the understanding and knowledge we know. Not being right upon the coming of our Lord and Savior. That's when Christ says it's going to be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Right? So that means he give us 6 days to do whatever we want in righteousness of our choice. So there should be no excuse why we can't holler one day to him and connect with him, because that's what's going to keep us focused for the other 6 days, from Sabbath to Sabbath. Right? Because really that's what the mission is really all about. The mission is the Most High, who have afforded us grace. It was the Most High have given us grace. But it's no more grace if we don't choose him. Under grace, it's no more grace. It's a purpose turning our back on him, who've given us the liberty to operate. Read.
Verse 4. For thus saith the Most High unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant. Even unto them will I give in mine house, and within my walls, a place and a name, better than of sons and of daughters.
See that? That's the house Christ went to prepare for us. His covenant is the Sabbath. That's the agreement he made with mankind in the beginning. That's his covenant. During this time, all of the heavens are quiet, reverencing the Most High during this time. And those that are doing the same is linked to the Spirit and receive revelation and understanding on how to operate in our realm. It's sort of like having a direct connection to the heavens to receive everything. And I'm going to tell you, the majority of what the Most High have given us, and information and teachings and all that, was based, all the key information that came out that let us know what we needed to do came on the Sabbath day. All of it. I can remember it. I remember just sitting down in a class and we break it open in scriptures, and people thought that probably we studied this for 3 weeks and open up the books and say, okay, you open up your books, you open up your books. And we all went into it and everything became crystal clear what we needed to do next. It was as if we were being directed from Sabbath to Sabbath. Right? What verse are you in?
Verse 5. Even unto them will I give in mine house and within my walls a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters.
Go ahead.
I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Most High,
That's the Gentiles.
to serve him and to love the name of the Most High,
And to love Ahaya, Ashar Ahaya. Read.
to be his servants, every one that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and taketh hold of my covenant, even them will I bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer.
So that's crystal clear that the Most High desire the Gentiles that cleave to Christ to serve him on the Sabbath. And that kills that teaching out there in secular Christianity that because people are Gentiles, they're not supposed to follow the Sabbath because that was given to the Jews. The Gentiles that will make it to this kingdom will join themselves to Jacob and serve the living power. Right? Read.
Verse 8. The Most High power, which gathereth the outcast of Israel, saith.
Read it again.
The Lord power, which gathereth the outcast of Israel, saith.
That gathereth the outcast of Israel. We know that we're the children of Israel that have been scattered throughout the earth. Now the Most High is calling us back with a higher mission to gather the rest of our people that are cast out throughout the four corners of the earth, which leads us to the other 6 days. When the Most High have called us out and give us understanding and time, within that week, we must find new ways to reach our people. Even if we don't have the physical wherewithal to go to the people based on what our office is at any particular time, we still have the mind to get things going, to establish things, to operate together in ways in which we can bring forth information and awaken our people in other areas, in other ways, as a brain trust. So there's always something we can be doing outside of dealing within ourselves. Right? Read.
Verse 8. The Most High power, which gathereth the outcast of Israel, saith, Yet will I gather others to him, beside those that are gathered unto him.
He will gather others to him that's not gathered to him. Read.
Verse 9. All ye beasts of the field come to devour, yea, all ye beasts in the forest. His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber.
It's speaking of the leaders who know the truth, who know better. They're lying down, just sitting, just chilling. No. Like the majority of preachers out there today who choose to not deal with the reality and the truth. That they will put in a position to bring again the children of God and to identify them and bring them back to the fold. Read.
Verse 11. Yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough. They are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way.
They all look to their own way. Read.
Every one for his gain from his quarter. Come ye, say they, I will fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink, and tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant.
Exactly. So the focus can go into rioting and partying and all the other stuff. But really the mission is what? To gather the children of God. So that's why the Most High said, remember the Sabbath and to keep it holy. They shift the Sabbath to Sunday so that the majority of people can think that they were doing what's right, partying and doing everything else on the Sabbath day. So that the whole world can profane the Sabbath and get drunk and partying during the time that Christ will return. And that's why Christ says, that's why it tells us in the epistles, we can't be caught as a thief. He's coming as a thief in the night. It's not that we don't know that he's coming and don't know how to prepare. A thief is going to come, okay? And he's going to come at a time that he told you he would come. That's the difference. Usually a thief is not going to tell you. But Christ says, what? Pray that your flight be not on the Sabbath, in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. He gave us a clue. So there's no reason for us to be caught out as a thief in the night, by a thief in the night. But the majority of people will be caught as a thief, have come to their home. Why? Because the whole system has programmed them to believe that Sunday is the Sabbath day, when there is something very, very, very highly spiritual about this Sabbath. Highly spiritual. And I thought about it because so many people ask, well, what can I do? What shouldn't I do on the Sabbath? They keep on asking questions. How do I serve the Sabbath? Or can I do this or can I do that? The key thing is, if you think that it's something you shouldn't do, don't do it. Don't even ask a question about it. Just don't do it. Okay. Why? Because someone's liberty or grace is not the same as yours. And you don't know if they're operating in a liberty and they can't do certain things. So we have to stop this thing where we do certain things because we see other people doing it. The whole thing is, the whole point of the Sabbath is to connect to the Most High. That's the point. And to stay in fellowship one amongst another during that period, so that we're not caught as a thief. That's the key thing. You got some more on that?
That's it.
Okay. I wanted to put that out there. That to actually stay on track, to begin that track, starts there. Everything else falls in place. Remember the Sabbath, keep it holy. From Sabbath to Sabbath, holy day to holy day, from year to year. If we do that, at least we know that we're in the right place with the Most High in the time that he's connecting with us. From Sabbath to Sabbath, from holy day to holy day, from year to year. So it's not too much to keep things snapped in order. It always starts with that. If we're doing that, we know that we're in the proper place with the Most High. So if we have liberty and grace to operate, and the Most High have afforded that to us, where we can choose when and how we do things, we don't choose it on the Sabbath day. We don't choose it on a holy day. Okay? We remember the Sabbath and always understand that it was the Most High who have afforded us the liberty to operate, to make choices. So therefore, that's owed to him. And we owe that to ourselves, to disconnect and know that we're in the right place with the Most High. Right? Any questions? No? Okay, good. The Sabbath is the covenant that the Most High made with Israel. That's the covenant. That began everything. He rested on the Sabbath. After he made man, which are we, he rested on the Sabbath day and said, hallow this and remember this. It had nothing to do with Moses. That covenant that he made with Moses was the original covenant he made with Adam. We stay in touch with that spirit and make sure that we're right in total humility to the Most High every Sabbath. From sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. And then we can do our own bid righteously on the other days. All right? Why is there so many prisons in America? Why, what good is arresting almost a third to a quarter of your whole population? Why is it leading now to them with fusion centers because they can't lock up enough, with institutions of schools that's now the prisons too, mental institutions which are prisons? Why? Come on.
To contain like the warriors.
To contain the warriors.
The ones that would actually lead out.
People, to some degree, that's a good point, to actually quell those with warrior spirits. That if they joined together, you would have a mighty physical army. And I'll tell you what, that's true. But there's something else.
It's become almost like a big business because they have to have, in order for them to make money, they have to have a certain number of people within the prison system as well.
They have to have a certain number of people within the prison system that works for free. Okay. But they have that already.
The people outside the prison are doing that as well.
When I say they have that already, whatever corporation you have that you're making $10, $20 an hour, $50 an hour, whatever the case is, you're still a prisoner. You're a slave. The difference is these people are not getting paid, but how much you think it costs a year to house a prisoner?
150 to 200.
Exactly. So it evens out. It's the same thing. But why they're looking to imprison people at a high number now? Why everything is being criminalized? Come on.
Is it to control the populace? It's almost like as a deterrent to the masses that this is the result of you going against our dictate.
I'm going to put it, this is why. All of you are right. But the reason why they must imprison so many people now is that they cannot stop the Most High freeing us. They cannot slow it up. Too many people are waking up at one time. We're in a time of prophecy where you cannot just dumb the population down and think that's good enough to finish what they're trying to finish. They're on a schedule. And it's too many people waking up at one time. It cannot be controlled. So either they must imprison them or kill them. Not because what they're doing, from what's operating on the outside, what the Most High is doing in the time of what we call the awakening. That's what's going on. So they're going to continue to ramp up their prisons. They're going to continue to ramp up their armies. They're going to continue to use their pharmaceuticals to brain kill the people. They're trying to stop the connect. And they cannot stop those with the spirit, like a lot of you, to understand what they understand. Because one thing about the truth, once it's given, it cannot be undone. It opens up a whole new window of understanding. So once people know something, knowing is half the battle. Once you know, there's nothing they can do to change that. They've went through so much just to keep us from walking through that door. Sunday worship, Christianity, pacification, making you have positions at your job, making you believe just your programming from youth was to turn you from not walking through that door. But once you walk through that door of truth, their programming have no more power. You are an enemy of the state. Right? Now it comes a time, brothers and sisters, when you're in the spirit, they can't even imprison you. And it comes a time, listen to what I'm telling you. And it comes a time in the spirit where they can't kill you either. What I mean by that, they tried to imprison the disciples. I'm going to go through it. The Most High opened up the prisons. They tried to throw John in prison during the Roman Empire. And we know America is modern day Rome. They tried to throw him in prison, and they couldn't do it because he would convert the whole prison. They overthrow the prison, and now you got warriors out there on the street teaching that Christ have come, that Israel will be delivered. And you can't beat them. They're together now, united under. See, one thing about prison, prison is even compartmentalized. They got it divided between Crips, blood, Muslims, Christians, lesbians, homosexuals. They have the whole system. Their social system is actually a microcosm of the world. And they have the prisons totally divided. But what if you put a brother in the prison that can unite everyone? So they couldn't do that with John, because they throw John in prison, and now the whole prison realize who they are and who the Romans are. And they come together under one ideology and one spirit. And then even the prison guards were converted. What you going to do now? The prison guards are with the prisoners. They open up the jail and say, y'all go out. Y'all no harm. You can't be no more prisoner than the Roman government is, than Caesar is, sacrificing people and killing people. You can't be as much a murderer as Caesar. You can't be as a greater thief as Caesar. See? So they said, what can we do with John? They was like, well, the Romans got together and said, you know what? We can't put him in prison. Then they said, well, let's kill him then. We can't kill him because the people that they let out of prison, these are assassins. These are killers. These people, even though they are converted, they'll come after us. We're senators. We're not warriors. So if we kill John, he doesn't befriend all the people that we wanted in jail, knowing their physical threat. Then they said, you know what? We can't kill him. He'll become a martyr. More people will come to him, and the prisoners will come after us. I know what? Let's give him his own island. Let's exile him to the Isle of Patmos. So therefore, he's in paradise. Everything is fine. They still know he's living. You understand? Are you following me here? What I'm saying is, even though they're planning all these things, there's an overall spirit that the Most High have with this elect, where what they do have no power if we're in the right place with the Most High. Now, it may come a time where to do his will, so that his will and his word can go forward, martyrdom is necessary. That's necessary too. But there come a time where, in some instances, it's not. The Most High show his power by releasing the prisoners. Right? So let me give you some examples here. Do me a favor, young man. Put a piece of that wood on the fire for me. Thank you. Just lay it up on there. Thank you. It's hot. Be careful, okay? You don't got to be scared of it. It's okay. Oh, my goodness. Where Mark at? It's okay. It's all right. I tell you what, dealing with that makes you understand that you got to be right. Because you don't want to be dealing with that for 1,000 years. That's heat. Yeah, you can take that there, yeah. All right. All right. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. All right, good. Good. Sorry about that, y'all. They should put some wood on the fire here. Yeah, go ahead.
Revelation. I guess this is the scriptural answer to your question. Revelations 2:9-10.
Here's the answer to the question of why so many people are placed in prison. Read.
Revelations 2:9-10.
Hold on one second. Here you go, man. Stop playing around with this. Put it back on there. There we go. All right. Ready? Ready?
Yes, sir.
Come on.
Yes, sir. Revelations 2:9-10. I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich.
The Most High says he knows what it says in the Spirit, Christ, because Christ was sent to the Isle of Patmos to speak to John, to give him the revelation of what we would experience in our time. And you notice a lot of Christians out there don't deal with revelations. They don't want to deal with it literally for a reason. They think everything is allegory and mystery. But when you apply revelations literally, it comes totally into focus of what it's all about. Why was John exiled to the Isle of Patmos, the Roman Empire? Why did they want to separate him from society? He knew something that can disconnect him from the Roman imposition on our people. He knew the keys to release our people. So he was exiled. What people? The children of God that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. The revelation was for them of what this world power, the Roman imperialistic power, would orchestrate against us in the last days is revelations. Okay? Read.
I know thy works in tribulation.
He know our works, our tribulation. He know the hell we've been through. Read.
And poverty.
He know that we've been impoverished. Once a rich people. Once a powerful people. Read.
But thou art rich.
But we are rich. Now, we're not physically rich. But the Most High have already predestined our kingdom. Okay, everything that's prepared for us is prepared for us. We are rich. We just haven't received our inheritance yet. But thou art rich, read.
And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews.
Now these are they who are behind the financial backing of these prisons. Now it's showing us in Revelations who would be backing our imprisonment. And I know the blasphemy who say they are Jews, read.
And are not.
And are not.
But are the synagogue of Satan.
But are the synagogue or the chief house of Satan. They are these who would institute Satan's rule on the earth against us. Against the prophets, against the disciples. Against those in Christ. They would be against Christ and Christ's people. Right? This is the revelation. Now listen to this.
Verse 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer.
Don't fear the things that those which say they are Jews and are not will do to you in the name of Rome, in the name of their father Satan. The Most High told us, don't fear their craft against us. Read.
Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison.
Now, is the devil coming out with a pitchfork and a tail throwing people in prison? No. It's speaking of those who say they are Jews and are not. They shall do what?
The devil shall cast some of you into prison,
Go ahead.
that ye may be tried.
So that we can be what?
That ye may be tried.
So a lot of us are being thrown in prison to be tried, to break our will, to have us serve their God. And that's what they were doing in the Roman Empire. They were trying to break our will. And if we didn't break, if we didn't acknowledge Caesar as our Lord and the government as our Lord, they did what? They threw us to the lions. They threw us in the arenas to fight bears, and they would make game of us if we denied Caesar as king. So if we stood up and say, no, Caesar's not king, Christ is our king, they would say, okay. They would put some garb on you and throw you to fight gladiators. That was your original games, the Colosseums. Read.
Ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death.
Be thou, and that 10 days is a completion. And it says, don't give up, even if you're thrown in prison. Be faithful to the Most High till death, even if it means your life.
And I will give thee a crown of life.
And I will give you a crown of life. They're going to look to break our will. And they do this in these prisons. And you notice when our brothers and sisters go into prison, they never come out the same. These are torture chambers. These are psychological chambers. These places, they look to mess you up and break your will. They claim prison is a place that they have made to do what? To adjust one to be a good citizen. Or what's the word they use?
Rehabilitation.
To rehabilitate you. To rehabilitate you. So it's more so mental what they're doing. It's to psychologically break you. It's not to make you an upstanding citizen within society, because the whole construct is unrighteous and deal with injustice. It's to break your will to think freely. That's what prisons are. It's torture chambers. In Rome, they were torture chambers. Let's give an example of what, and it's no surprise now that there's laws on the books now that says it's okay to torture. And you thought it was for Bin Laden and Anwar al-Awlaki, when now it's domestic terrorism, and they're using torture and all types of electromagnetic shock and all types of drugs on prisoners now. This was their plan from the beginning, not to just go against those who are unlawful, but to set up their prisons in the last days against us, the children of God, who know better, who would prophesy the fall of these empires. Right? Let's give you an example in the book of Acts, after Christ, when the disciples were thrown in prison.
This is the book of Acts.
See, and that's why they don't want you to read the Bible. Everyone out there is claiming you shouldn't deal with the Bible. But the Bible is the key tool to give an example, to give us perfect examples of what they're doing to us today and to prepare for it. To have real life situations and scenarios from Christ being tortured, from Christ going through what he went through, the disciples, what they went through. These are real life examples of what we would need to see so that we can repeat and do what they did before us. So the Bible gives us these real life examples on how to overcome the satanic system we call Rome or Babylon. Right? Chapter and verse.
Acts chapter 12, verse 1.
Go ahead.
Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hand to vex certain of the church. And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread.
So during the time of unleavened bread, they were conspiring, the government, to come against Peter. Okay, now don't think that these conversations are not going down in your so-called Masonic halls amongst the powers of government, of what are we going to do about these people who are waking up. They're everywhere. And I'm going to tell you, I even give credit to some degree to the Israelites who we know that are just zealots, that are just out there, just out of their mind, doing all. The only credit I give to them is their boldness. You must be bold in the Most High to stand out there, even if you're shouting some mess. But I'll tell you this, they are the example because they're planting seeds and waking up people who might not join them, but these people learn to see nonetheless. And I'm saying that you got to give it credit to, because guess what? It was some crazy people shouting to me. Okay. And even though I don't ascribe to a lot of their activity and how they operate, I can't say the Most High wasn't in it. So there's a place for that. Okay? Because at least they're bold enough to stand out there and tell the truth and go home and eat a nice warm meal and be protected by the Most High and shout and curse people out next week and nothing happened to them. Okay, so hey, you have to give them credit because we don't know what the Most High doing with them either. We may use a different tact in doing it, but a lot of them bringing truth nonetheless. Right? Now, of course, when you get aged and start understanding a few things, you start applying Christ in areas. Okay, I can teach this truth, but Christ says he sent us out like sheep among wolves. We must be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. We can't be harmful. We can't be harming people, and we can't be operating in an uncomely manner doing this work, knowing that the target is right here in the center of our forehead. We're the target. So we must be wise. So I can tell you the truth and smile with you. I can tell you. And the conversation with the Bible will tell you you're the devil. I can show you you're the devil. Read Revelation 2 and 9. I know thou workest thy tribulations through poverty, but thou art rich. I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. Now, did I call you the devil? No. I'll shake your hand and I'll talk to you. And I'll tell you, yeah, you're wonderful. I mean, yeah, you're great. But the Bible is saying that you're the devil. You understand? So that's being wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. Because they want you to be the one. Because there's laws on the books that if you say this, you are a criminal. Last I checked, no one have locked up a Bible yet. Well, are you saying this? That's why when we get on these radio shows, they try to, well, what are you saying? Brother, listen, don't try to get us, this is not between you and I. God said that he's going to read. This is what God said. Well, you saying you homophobic? Leviticus 20 and 13. God said if you lie with mankind as you lie with a woman, you shall surely be put to death. See? Now let's go into the prison. But now they're going to make it illegal to hold a Bible soon. That's the next phase. what they call this. They call this religious extremist views.
Religious intolerance.
Huh?
Religious intolerance.
Yeah, religious intolerance. Right? What's another name they have for this? They're going to call it religious terrorism soon. You're a terrorist because you have, no, they call it extreme views. Now, that's all of us in this room. I know my views are very extreme because the Most High's views are extreme. Right? Christ's views were extreme. Why did they kill Christ? Why did they throw him in prison?
Because his views were extreme.
Yeah. Because he said his kingdom is not of this world. That this kingdom will fall and he will build his kingdom in 3 days. Now imagine someone in America just standing up and saying, well, you know what? This kingdom gonna fall. And my kingdom is gonna come. Man, you put an Allah Akbar behind that one. You were an extremist there. That's how it works. He's talking about destroying America. This is the same, let me tell you, there's nothing new under the sun. They were saying he's talking about destroying Rome. See? This is how they did it. When really we know in order for our kingdom to come, these empires must fall. It was prophesied in the book of Daniel. So Christ was only reiterating and quoting what was written in the Old Testament. That these empires are on a time stamp. They're on a schedule. There's going to come a time where they fall because they were not meant to be. Okay? They were only put in place to enslave us and to chastise us so that the Most High can build us for the next kingdom. So that a kingdom that will never fall. So we went through phases from one kingdom to the next. Okay? So we're just reiterating the obvious. There's no way these kingdoms can stand. Because the God of these kingdoms are who? The fallen one, Satan. These are his kingdoms. These are his kingdoms. Right? So let's see what happened in Rome.
Verse 4.
Go ahead.
And when he had apprehended, Acts 12:4. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Passover to bring him forth to the people. Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto God for him.
They were praying to the Most High. And this happened not too long ago. A brother was held. Say, man, all we can do is pray. And we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. And next thing you know, and we know this never happens. The brother was just released. They just released him. Right? Read.
Verse 6. And when Herod would have brought him forth, the same night Peter was sleeping, behold, between two soldiers, Lawya, bound with 2 chains, and the keepers before the door kept the prison. And behold, the angel of the Most High came upon him, and a light shined in the prison. And he smote Peter on the side and raised him up, saying, Arise up quickly. And his chains fell off from his hands. And the angel said unto him, Gird thyself and bind on thy sandals. And so he did. And he said unto him, Cast thy garment about thee and follow me. And he went out and followed him, and wist not that it was true, which was done by the angel, but thought he saw a vision. Verse 10. When they were past the first and second ward, they came unto the iron gate that leadeth unto the city, which opened to them of his own accord. And they went out and passed through one street, and forthwith the angel departed from him. And when Peter was come to himself, he said, Now I know of a surety that the Most High hath sent his angel, and hath delivered me out of the hand of Herod, and from all the expectation of the people of the Jews.
So what happens here? The Most High sent an angel, form of a man. Tapped Peter, said, let's go, man. Let's get out of here. They look to do you harm. The whole place was asleep. The gate was wide open. He walked past the ward and looked. He was like, the gate is open. He walked out, and then what? The angel was gone. He says, well, I know for a surety that the Most High have delivered me out of the hand of the Romans. To show you that the Most High have spiritual intervention all the time, but we are just so caught up, we never see it. The angels are beholding us and operating amongst us, usually in crowded places. And a lot of us don't know it. They're just there. And they operate all the time with us. So the angel came, let him out, and he continued. Another time, they threw a whole bunch of them in prison. And then the next day, they was out there prophesying on the street. The next day, they're like, didn't we just lock these guys up? Angels let them loose. So there's a greater power than government. That they're looking to disconnect us from that power.
Okay, that's the one right there.
Go ahead.
Acts 5:17. Then the high priest rose up, and all they that were with him, which is the sect of the Sadducees, and were filled with indignation, and laid their hands on the apostles, and put them in the common prison.
Put them in. There you go again. Read.
But the angel of the Most High by night opened the prison doors, and brought them forth, and said, Go stand and speak in the temple to the people all the words of this life. And when they heard that, they entered into the temple early in the morning and taught. But the high priest came, and they that were with him, and called the council together, and all the senate of the children of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought. But when the officers came and found them not in the prison, they returned and told, saying, The prison truly found we shut with all safety, and the keepers standing without before the doors. But when we had opened, we found no man within. Now when the high priest and the captain of the temple and the chief priests heard these things, they doubted of them whereunto this would grow. Then came one and told them, saying, Behold, the men whom ye put in prison are standing in the temple and teaching the people. Then went the captain with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should be stoned.
So they wanted to arrest them, but it was so much power at the speaking, and the people were so engulfed in the word of the Most High that they feared grabbing them. And usually when these criminals come, they come at a time where there's no witnesses, no people to protect you. They did that with Christ. They came in at the night after seeing him in the market that day. And usually, I'm going to tell you, even today, usually when they come jackbooting and looking to take people down, they come 2, 3 in the morning in your house when they think you're home to get you like that. It's the same thing. Right? Now, let's take this prisoner understanding to the next level before we break down and I answer a few questions. Let's go to Isaiah, where it tell you that he come to release the prisoners, those that are in prison. Isaiah 61, right?
There's a few of them, but I'll start there.
All right, whatever you have is fine.
Okay, I'll start at 49.
Go ahead.
Jump to 61. This is Isaiah, verse 49, chapter 49, verse 8.
Go ahead.
Thus saith the Most High, in an acceptable time have I heard thee, and in a day of salvation have I helped thee, and I will preserve thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, to establish the earth, to cause to inherit the desolate heritages, that thou mayest say to the prisoners, Go forth. To them that are in darkness, show yourselves. They shall feed in the ways, and their pasture shall be in all high places.
So the Most High is going to release the prisoners. It's including our countries that we've been imprisoned in. These Masonic cities that have been created to hold us and to program us to be slaves in their system. All right? And when I was in Babylon a few years ago, I said it many times that I thought about it. And the Most High showed me a few things concerning these prisons. There's going to come a time that they're going to go to a lot of these prisoners and give them an option to release them. And they started this with the so-called GPS that they put on their ankles, so that you can have house imprisonment, in which, as long as you're in the house or house arrest, they test the system back then. And I'm like, you know what? It's going to come a time where they're going to go to the prisoners and say, because, you know, we will allow you to leave and deal with your family and all that if you receive the mark of the beast. That's coming. That they're going to release people in prison. They're going to say that the prisons are too crowded and all that, and offer them the chip in prison. Now, what they did to acclimate the prisoners into it was first do house arrest and have releases with the ankle bracelet so that they can know that it's okay to be surveilled outside of a physical prison. But they're going to take it to the next level, if they haven't already. They're going to go to prisoners and say, well, listen, I'll let you loose, and you don't got to worry about that connection with your phone inside your house. The reason why you dealt with those things on your ankle is because the system could only, in your house, can only deal with a certain number of feet. If you go outside your house, then it would alarm us. But if you get this RFID chip, we can follow you everywhere. You don't have to be restricted to your home now. So that's coming. Something can be a long time ago. Say, listen, they're gonna say the prisons are overcrowded and all that, and they're gonna take this house arrest thing to the next level and actually give them the RFID chip, which is so many things. It's deeper than a surveillance chip, like I was mentioning last week. It's medication, it's mind altering, it's everything they need to control a person in something as small as a grain of rice. It's mind altering, it's spiritual altering. It can cause you to go crazy and rage. They can control you. It's MK Ultra on steroids. Mm-hmm. They can get you to do anything they want you to do if they have this chip. That's going to happen very soon, if they haven't rolled it out already. Okay. A few more things on the prison. Read.
Isaiah chapter 61, verse 1.
Go ahead.
The Spirit of the Most High power is upon me, because the Most High have anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek.
So Christ was anointed to teach good tidings to the meek. Read.
He have sent me to bind up the brokenhearted.
He have sent Christ to bind up the brokenhearted. These are they whose minds are broken. Okay, and this is what happens when one get the truth. Your minds actually get refocused to understand right outside of your programming. Everything we've learned in our system is a lie. Everything. The religion we learned in our system is a lie. The history of the system we were raised in was a lie. It was not until we realized the truth that we began to understand that everything is a lie. That's what Christ did. He came to do what?
To preach good tidings unto the meek.
Good tidings to the meek. Read.
He have sent me to bind up the brokenhearted.
These are the people who don't have things together and are programmed. Read.
To proclaim liberty to the captives.
To proclaim liberty to the captives. Read.
And the opening of the prison to them that are bound.
And the open of the prison to those who are bound. Now this is physical and it's spiritual. Why? Because some of our teachings, some of the things we've learned growing up from a child, have restricted us and have gave us fear to the point where we're restricted by fear to do certain things. You notice that? That this system have instilled systematic fears in our minds so that we feel that we can't do this or we can't do that. Or we feel that if we do this, then something bad is going to happen. Where did all this fear come from? It was our learning, our programming. That's a prison. That's a prison. So Christ came to release that too. To say, well, listen, you have the Spirit of the Most High. There's nothing you can't do if you're with the Most High. So he takes away those boundaries that was placed, the systematic boundaries that were placed in us to restrict us from doing what? Rebelling against the system. That's what these fears were placed in us for. To keep us shackled as slaves to do the bidding for Satan's world. Right? So Christ released us from that. And let me tell you, since I've learned the truth, I began to realize there's nothing we can't do. And I began to do things I used to have a phobia or a fear of. And became good at it. And it was like, man, I used to go to a carpenter for this. I used to go to this person for that. Because I thought that you had to learn a trade to do these things. Who taught us that? And I'm speaking just on the physical level. We can do anything we want to do. We were told that we couldn't build this, or we have to go to this person and pay this person for this or do that. We were told that. But with Christ, we can do anything. There's no restrictions. That's what I've learned. So that prison, that spiritual prison, we've been released from. Okay? Read.
Verse 2. To proclaim liberty, or to proclaim the acceptable year of the Most High.
To proclaim the acceptable year of the Most High. So we know that was the coming of Christ, right? Mm-hmm. The acceptable year of the Most High. Read.
In the day of vengeance of our God.
In the day of vengeance of our God. So the Most High will have vengeance on those who have imprisoned us. They need prisons to keep the children of Israel from realizing our true purpose. They need prisons. Read.
To comfort all that mourn.
To comfort all that mourn.
Verse 3. To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called the trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. And they shall build the old waste, they shall raise up the former desolations.
So this is what happens when we're released from prison, brothers and sisters. We shall do what?
And they shall build the old waste.
We shall build the old waste, which is our place. We're going back. Read.
They shall raise up the former desolations.
We shall raise Israel again. See, if you can be released from your prison, your Masonic prison that was set up to keep us mentally enslaved, you desire to build your own construct, your own city that's waste. See, this is what they feared. Because what? You take us away, then who's going to continue building your system? Where's your slaves? So when I started examining this whole prison thing, I said, you know what? This is key because this is our purpose. Christ says we must choose because we can't, either we're serving one God or the other. Either we're building their system or we're building ours. So once we are released from our prison, then what's the mission? That gives us our purpose. And that's why some of us may feel lost or feel they don't understand, because if you've been taken from a purpose and not doing anything towards a purpose, you're lost. At least in the world and in prison, I understood what to do. Now you get released from prison because in prison they say, okay, this is what you do. You wake up, you go to the mess hall, you go here, you license plates, you clean the hallway, you clean the urinals, you do this, you do the laundry. You notice they keep you working in prison. They have to give you a purpose. Or what? You would think about overrunning the place, right? So I'm showing you how we apply this to the truth. The whole thing is, once we're released from prison, we lose it because we don't understand what to do with all this time and all what we have, because we were institutionalized. Okay, we can't celebrate Christmas. We can't go Sunday worship. We can't sing in the choir no more. We can't do this. We can't. Do you understand? So these are the things that kept us busy. But to realize that there's a purpose after we're released, that's when we come to the fullness of being a child of Israel, of understanding this is our purpose. This is what I need to do to get my place in the kingdom with this time. I've been released. Okay, but what am I to do now? Because Christ says he would release the prisoners. Okay, I know I'm the truth. I know I'm Israel. I know what the empire is going to fall. I know we're next. Now it's given us our purpose. Christ released us for a purpose. Right? You with me?
Gone.
Read.
This is verse 5. And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks.
Strangers shall stand and feed our flocks. Read.
And the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers.
Go ahead.
But ye shall be named the priest of the Lord.
We will be named the priest of the Most High. That's our purpose. That's our place. Now, in order to be priests, we must rehearse the righteous act and operate as priests. That's our operation. Right? It starts now. It's not as if we're going to wait for Christ and say, okay, you're a priest. Okay, I'm going to make you a priest. No, we're being made now. So whatever we're doing here is our function in the kingdom. Now think about it. Now, if you're not doing anything, then there's no place. Okay? You either serving one master or the other. So, we're going to click in with priest classes of how to be priests. How to be regal and be established to operate among men as a man of honor. It starts with our everyday action and rehearsing the righteous acts. How we operate, how we dress, how we talk, how we interact with others. It all starts there. Proper spiritual etiquette on how to be. Right? Once you're released from prison and you become a man or a woman of the Most High, what separates us from what we were? If we're the same, we're still in prison. Right? Read.
But ye shall be named, this is verse 6, but ye shall be named the priest of the Lord. Men shall call you ministers of our God.
Men shall call you ministers of the Most High. Read.
Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. For your shame ye shall have double.
For each thing we were ashamed of, we will have double honor. So that's the reward, the promise from our Father. So there's no need in complaining about what was done to us, when everything that was done to us will be paid back twofold by the Father. So it's not about complaining, oh, I've been enslaved, oh, they whipped us. Oh, they beat me, they stole me, they stole my land. Well, the Most High promised double back. We lost nothing if we're willing to stand in honor as priests. Right? Read.
The rest of verse 7. And for confusion
they
shall rejoice in their portion.
For all the times that we were confused and lied to, worshiping Christmas as Saturnelli and all this mess they're dealing with. For as much as we were confused, what?
They shall rejoice in their portion.
We shall rejoice in our portion. So as much as confusion we've had will be our increase. Twice as much as confusion will be our increase. Read.
Therefore in their land they shall possess the double.
We shall get double. That means we didn't lose anything. We're working to get everything back and more. This prison planet was our testing ground, our learning ground for our kingdom to come. Read.
Everlasting joy shall be unto them.
Everlasting joy shall be unto them.
Verse 8. For I, the Lord, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering. And I will direct their work in truth. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them. And their seed shall be known among the Gentiles. And their offspring shall be the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them. They that are the seed which the Lord hath blessed. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my God. For he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness. As a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causeth the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Most High Power will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations.
All the world will know when it's said and done, once this is finished, who we are and why we went through what we went through. The whole world. Everyone will know. That's the portion the Most High promised us. That our fathers were not sold and our mothers were not sold in vain. That we weren't lied to in vain. We were not in prison in vain. That's our reward. And we're on the cusp of that reward. And I know sometimes we focus so much on what they're doing to the point where some can lose focus when it comes to what we should be doing, because we have a job against this system spiritually that we must finish. Because life itself is telling the world that this place cannot go on as it is. And we got so many people that are lost strictly based on what they believe to be true. Have now been outside of us. The system is teaching people that it's not going to sustain. The system itself, even if we don't preach anything, you got people waking up saying, this thing ain't gonna last too long. You got bank accounts and people are living from check to check, don't have them, losing their houses. The whole dream they realized was a lie. So the Most High need us there to give some resolve to all these people who trusted in this world, that would wake up and realize, like we know now, that it was all a lie. They're going to need someone to resolve all that for them. The greatest truth one can receive is reality. And that can do as much as a brother preaching on the street about where Israel and what the system is doing. When they start losing everything. And you know what? I'm talking to people now that I've known personally. People I care about, and I've talked to them, and you know what? It's deep speaking to them. Because outside of this truth and all this, they've been taught a reality that leads them to the same place we are right now. But it's up to the priest to resolve that for them. They're being released out of their prisons. But they don't have there's no choice, no options for them. It's like Satan have pulled the rug from under them on purpose and saying, okay, everything we taught you was a lie because we constructed that for you. Now follow me. And they're choosing Satan. They're going from one prison to a new prison. So it's up to the priest to give them that option to serve the living God. Right? One other thing before we go. Let's go to Matthew 25. And I wanted to read this in general anyway on what Christ said, how we should be to resolve everything I've read earlier. Speaking of being a prisoner.
St. Matthew chapter 25, verse 31.
Go ahead.
When the Son of Man shall come in the glory.
When Christ returns, read.
And all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations.
Before him shall be gathered all nations.
And he shall separate them one from another.
So the first thing Christ is going to do once he returns is separate all nations according to their boundaries. Why? Because if Israel will be given Israel, then all the other people must have land allocated to them according to their original nation. The Japhetic people will be in their areas. The Hamitic people will be in their areas. The Shemitic people will be in their areas. That's how it will be. And then once a year, according to Revelations and the book of Isaiah, they're going to come once a year. I mean, the book of Ezekiel, they're going to come once a year to give homage to the God of Israel, then go back to their areas. So the first thing Christ is going to do is sever out Israel for the Israelites. So that's why he's separating all nations. I know some people are teaching this from a racist standpoint. Oh, yeah, he's going to separate black from white and this, that. It's deeper than that. It's not no racist thing. Every nation was promised something. So Christ is not only coming to bring our promise. The nations that are righteous, that are dealing with him right, will have a place in the lands that were allocated to them from the beginning. That's their promise too. Okay? Of course, they're going to serve in righteousness and come up and Every year it's going to be a serious get together when all nations come and eat from the tree. They're not going to be like, well, I don't want this tree of life because I'm not an Israelite. You understand? So when I mention these particular scriptures, I have to bring that out because so many people are teaching this from a racist angle. When Christ is separating for a higher purpose. Read.
Verse 32. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from his goats,
Now,
or from the goats.
Go ahead.
And he shall set the sheep on the right hand,
He shall set the sheep on the right hand,
but the goats on the left.
the goats on the left. Read.
Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world.
Go ahead.
For I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat.
Now this is out of all nations. Christ was 100,
And ye gave me meat.
and we gave Christ meat. Read.
I was thirsty,
I was thirsty,
and ye gave me drink.
and you gave me drink.
I was a stranger,
I was a stranger,
and ye took me in.
and you took me in.
Naked, and
Naked.
ye clothed me.
And ye clothed me.
I was sick,
I was sick,
and ye visited me.
and you visited me.
I was in prison,
I was in prison,
and ye came unto me.
and you came unto me.
Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee in hunger, and
Christ, when did you see us hungry?
fed thee, or thirsty,
When did we see you hungry and fed you? Read.
or thirsty, and gave thee drink?
When did we see you thirsty and gave you drink?
When saw we thee a stranger, and took thee in?
When we seen you a stranger, which means outside of my family, but took you in anyway?
Or naked, and clothed thee?
When did we see you without having clothing and gave you clothing?
Or when saw we thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee?
When did we see you sick or in prison and came unto thee?
And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you,
I say unto them, to you,
inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren,
as you have done this to the least of my brethren,
ye have done it unto me.
you have done it unto me. Now, this is what I'm examining in lieu of this whole teaching today. Here's the mission amongst those who know the truth. To see people who may be strangers and help them and take them in. To feed people that are hungry. To give people water or to nourish them when they don't have anything. To do all these things that Christ said. And not to look for anything in return in this life. To know that you're doing this because every time you do it, you're doing it to Christ. Now, I'll put this out there because sometimes I've learned that we do things. And then to some degree, of course, you want to be appreciated for what you do and be respected for what you do. But sometimes, and I'm putting this out there, we may not receive back from the person we're doing it to what you're doing. You may not ever receive it back from that person. But that's okay. We do this because Christ did it for us. We take in strangers. We feed the homeless. We help those who are imprisoned. And we never expect anything back. Because that's what Christ did for us. And that's part of this whole mission in releasing the prisoners. Because when I look at what Christ was talking about doing for these people, the majority of these people that need this help are us. Is us, excuse me. And I'm just putting this out there from amongst just brothers and sisters in the truth. You're feeding somebody, you look out for somebody, you do something for someone. Of course, you expect appreciation, but all in all, that's a reasonable service. Because I understand by doing these things, who will repay? The only thing that we can do as a people is when it's a blessing if we can all look at this scripture, all of us, and do that. All of us. Because if we do this, we're doing it to Christ. And I wanted to put that out there. It's separate from everything else to some degree, but my lesson was going to be on that originally, but I wanted to go into the release of the prisoners and what that whole doctrine in Christ was. But it's overall, the overall understanding is appreciating the Christ in people. And understand that all of us were in a place of need at one point, and the Most High sent the Spirit of Christ. All of us can always go to a point in our life that we needed something, and the Most High sent a spirit in a person, but it was his Son. It was Christ. And that's the spirit that must be emanated from us. All right. With that, I'm going to answer questions in a moment, and we're going to anoint and wish you all Godspeed. Do me a favor, young man. In there, you're going to see an olive oil and to your right in the cabinet right there. See it? It's an olive oil. It's a solid rack there. Know that so far. We also know that he beguiled Adam, the king of this earth, so that he can gain power over this earth. And then he began to mix and splice all the different points of creation that the Most High made good, so that all of the Most High creation could turn on itself, turn on man, and destroy the image of God that was made in earth. We know that all to be true. But there's some key information that we found that I'm going to go into tomorrow that really gives some understanding on the king of this world. When it says the principalities and the powers of the air, how that links to today and how they were dealing with the same technology before the flood. A lot of you may think these computers are new. These computers is old technology. And I'm going to go into it tomorrow, how they were dealing with it. And even priests were dealing with it to some degree, but without the cords. So I'm going to go into that tomorrow. You're going to find out that the majority of the technology that we have in the earth today is fallen angel technology. The crystal screens that we see and all that are actually written in Scripture. That all this technology that they try to give credit to man, as far as Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, such as front men for the fallen angel technology. The majority of the technology they have in the earth today, they actually get from these underground military caverns where they hold Nephilim, the children of the fallen angels. So this information is given to mankind, and in exchange, like in ancient times, they require human sacrifice for more information. So I'm going to go into all that and more in the academy tomorrow in tracing Satan's seed. So we're only in the second week. If you want to participate, send an email to gathering as one. That's the number 1 at AOL.com. It's only a small fee to participate. It's a 3-month program, and you get things sent to you. You get the PDF sent to you, all the information, and at the end, you can grade yourself. We do test scores and all that, so you can participate. And I don't think anyone want to miss tomorrow. Okay, all right. So with that, I can answer a few questions. Let me open up help me with this, Lawya.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to open up the chat here. All right. 10 minutes. All right. I'm learning this thing, so bear with me. All right. Let me, one moment. Okay, let me pause it now. Oh man, y'all shooting questions a mile a minute. If you have any questions, I'm willing to answer those too. All right, Law man, I need you to help me here. I got this up here. Got those glasses on? All
Yes,
right,
sir.
all right, all right. Come on.
This is a great lesson. I just had one question.
Chamber 144. Go ahead.
My wife is from India, Punjab, to be exact. If my wife may not be a Hebrew according to the curses, that's kind of blocking off the thing.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
If I'm in Israel, be.
Hold on. Go ahead. That's it.
Wow.
You have it?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
If I'm Israel, will we be separated when Christ sets up the kingdom to each nation?
That is a good question. I've received that question before. Keep in mind this, brothers and sisters, that even Christ said himself when it comes to the Father, know what the Most High bound together, let no man can separate. You can't separate one flesh. It's an impossibility. All right. So if you, number one, you have to realize that a lot of our people were scattered in India also. So just keep in mind that the Most High could be just tying Israel together. You just can't go with the outward appearance all the time. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of brothers darker than me going to look surprised when they're in the Edom line. And that's just the way it is. It's deeper than just hue. But to answer your question directly, no, you cannot separate one flesh. The Father is the nation. So that nation brings his family to his respective lands. And don't forget, it's going to be paradise. It's going to be great on earth everywhere. The earth is going to be clean and righteous. And then they're going to not only celebrate in their areas and make sure that things are right in their areas, because don't forget, Israelites are going to be governors over all the lands. So really, the earth is going to be an extension of Israel. But the whole deal is a child of Zion is not going to just be stuck in Israel. We'll be free to travel any place we want and then come back home. All right. So we need to break from, I would say, in lieu of the lesson I've just taught, our prison and how they have us view the kingdom. If you're married to a woman whom you may think is another nation, the Bible says don't strive in genealogies. When Christ comes to separate, he's going to separate according to nations. And we know that the fathers are the father of the nations. So the whole family goes under the father. Okay? What's next?
Shalom, elders. Would Daniel 9 be a good precept to John 3:16? Especially verse 20 through 27. When explaining this to Christians, also there's a movie called Divergent that shows the future government chipping people and controlling their minds to be robots to kill whoever isn't a part of their agenda. You should check it out.
I seen Divergent the other week, and and it blows me away. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of what they're showing you is not the future at all. What they're doing is giving you insight, and by making you think it's futuristic, you begin to believe it's so far off you don't have to worry about it. But they're really telling you what they're doing right now. Not only chipping, but the fact that when they do these chipping, how they can be controlled to do whatever they want these people to do. There's another movie that you gave me. What's the name of that?
The Giver.
Oh, The Giver with Jeff Bridges. Oh my goodness. I seen The Giver last week when the brother told me about it, and I couldn't believe it. How they gonna have the whole system programmed to take their daily dose of zombie each morning and think it's okay. And by taking the medication, it separates you from feeling. It separates you from the Most High. It separates you from life. But it still gives you what you would call an alternative, war-free reality, because you don't look to harm anyone. But really, as we know, they created war to lead us into a new world order in which we would think we need them for protection. There would be no war if it wasn't for these Satanists who are controlling the system. But when I seen The Givers, it blew me away. Because I'm not looking into the future. I'm looking at the mindset of most people now. And the majority of the population is on drugs. I was sitting there and, I don't like, sometimes I'm not going to go into detail personally all the time. But I'm sitting there screaming at the top of my lungs last night, speaking to a family member to try to stop them from taking their drugs. Please stop taking your drugs. You understand? Because I'm dealing with all these issues, but I can't solve these issues with prayer if these people are popping their demons. You can't contend with this. There's no way to pray away a potion that's taking your mind. So in order for me to actually rationally talk to people I know and really break through, they must be sober-minded first. And I come to find out that the whole earth is on drugs. The majority of physical issues, emotional issues, all this is because all of our people are on drugs. They've made us sick with the vaccines so that they can make it where you must have medication. But they're putting psychotropics in all the medication that you need to heal your sicknesses they've given you through vaccines. And when I seen that movie, The Givers, it was one guy they call the what?
The receiver.
He's the receiver. You see The Givers? It's one guy, check out why they named him the receiver. Because he's the one that must relay the history of what really happened in earth and give the true history. And at least one person have to have it in that society, so that the society can continue, because you must know the past to keep the organization together. You must know the past. So the giver is one person. When one giver is about to die, he must pass down the information to the next person who can see things others can't see.
Sounds like a quote.
The giver. But it's deep that they told the giver, listen, and here's a spoiler. They told the giver, you're not restricted by all these laws. And guess what? You can also lie. No one else is allowed to lie. But the giver can lie. So the giver, even though really in reverse, it's really speaking of those who are connected and can see, who's supposed to give that information to the next generation, but they turned it around backwards. There's always people that are born in this earth who are an anomaly. We are the anomaly. We break the system. So they made it where a person who cannot be, a person who is naturally born that way to receive must be controlled. You understand? And that's why they have the Masons. The Masons have a lot of people who are educated and who can see and who are gifted, but they are used for Satan. We are the anomaly. Okay? What's next?
Someone said the word Mary in the Old Testament have different meanings. Explain Isaiah 62 verse 5 in the Strong's. In verse Mary H 1166, means Baal, but Baal have different meanings also. Lawya.
Well, it does have different meanings, but it usually connects to a union. Just like you have a union between the Most High and man. That's one form of marriage. There's another form of marriage between man and wife. Okay, so it depends on the context of the scripture. So you are correct. What's next?
Elders, this lesson gave much understanding. It was very profound and clear in understanding. Lawya and Barakatham.
Praise the Most High.
Someone says, can you give some insight as to how Naphtali and Reuben got to the Pacific Australian region?
Yes, through time. You understand? It wasn't as if they all at one time, the ships just dropped off here and dropped off there and dropped off there. You have to realize you're talking 721 BC when they began to go into the Assyrian captivity and led them to actually go to the places where they're distributed today. Also, you have to keep in mind that was what, 700 years before Christ came. And then you look at it another almost 1,000 years before they were founded in these particular areas, or 1,500 years before when they were founded in these particular areas. So you're speaking of a period of over 2,000 years of migrating to the point where they were distributed to these other areas. And then to the point where when the Europeans found them, moved them to different places too. So it's not just one event that got them there. But the Bible says that at the end they would be there. Through time, it got them there. The same way through time, we were in Israel. And then we were in Africa. And then we were in America. So we didn't start in Africa the same way the people in South Pacific didn't start in the South Pacific. But through time, circumstance, migration, being moved by those who've enslaved them, led to where the Most High said they would be in the end days. Okay, so it's not an easy find because you're speaking of 2,000 years of migrating. All right, but the key point about it to identify them now is the key, because the prophecies show what will befall Israel in the last days. So that's how you identify them, based on where they are now. Okay. What's next?
This is the heart of Judah. Elder, I've been in the truth for a year now, and I've had many victories over my sins, but I'm currently making small backslides. And when I try to fast, I struggle. Please, I need advice and would be comforted by your prayers.
Okay. Well, this is what we're going to do. Is on top of that, like I said, that it's time to put our minds together to pray, to do certain things. And we got people with time. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a website. Well, not a website. We're going to set up an email strictly for prayer requests that will be manned by someone that have time. And what we'll do every Sabbath before class, we'll do a long prayer for those in the prayer request. It's a straight prayer for them personally. While we can't do everyone all at once and all that, but prayer is needed for the brothers and sisters by those who can see, by those, the elders. All right? Because through prayer comes advice also. A lot of these sins are happening because of our behaviors and the things we've been taught to keep us in our sinful bonds, which is another prison. So that's good that you have that struggle and want to overcome those. That's half the battle. The first thing is not to be ashamed of the situation, because in the dark, if you keep it in the dark, that's where Satan has his way with you. So it's good that you're admitting that you have an issue. Next is to know, and I'm going to tell you, if you have some sins, you must cut yourself off from the areas in which you can perpetuate that particular sin. And I'm going to tell you, you have to do it. You have to fight every day with it. But again, we're going to set up a prayer. Send your email and we're going to do a prayer for you. But we're going to set up a prayer email so that we don't have a log jam with just different emails and have to go through each. Prayer requests will be, we may do a GOCC prayer request at gmail or something.com. Just prayer requests. You understand? So we can put out prayers for brothers and sisters. So we have to do that. What's next here?
Elders, did you see the trailer for the movie San Andreas?
I haven't seen the trailer for the movie San Andreas, but since you've mentioned it, I'll look at it. What's next?
Dan, can't pronounce the name, states, why do all the prisons teach the Muslim religion? Is that the only one they know? Also, what if you don't have anyone to anoint you with oil? Okay.
Well, the second question first. Get some olive oil and anoint yourself. All right. Go to Numbers 6 and 22 and read it and anoint yourself and anoint your family. That's number one. Number two, the prisons have Muslims because it's systematic divide and conquer. The same way they have Muslims set up in your neighborhoods. I've never seen a black neighborhood, I'm so happen to be black from a black neighborhood, that didn't have a prominent Muslim community. But when I go into the suburbs, I don't see that. So that tells me that it's a systematic way to keep us divided so that they can actually divide the people who predominantly believe in the Bible. And they continue that in prison, in which you got to join a side to protect yourself from the homosexuality that's perpetuated as a weapon in prison also. So again, prison is just a microcosm of society. When you look at prison, it's really how the whole society is constructed. The warden is really like your president or governor, but it's the same society. A micro society that points to how the whole system or your whole world is controlled. What's next?
Who are the Italians in the Bible?
Well, the Italians are really Romans. Italy is a part of Rome. So they are Edomites according to the family line. But there was a scenario in which the time of Hannibal, where the Jews came through and just took over parts of Italy. So like Sicilians and all that, a lot of them are Judah. So a lot of these so-called Sicilians and these Italians and all that you may think, and when you look at them, a lot of them, they're us. Okay. So we have to tell them they have to get out of that pagan mess too, following the Pope and all that mess. Okay, but all in all, a lot of the Italians are from Judah. What's next?
Can you please direct me to some website or resources for authentic biblical Hebrew names?
Send an email. We have Lawya deal with that. Okay, I don't go to a website for a biblical name. I use a Strong's Concordance. It's simple. You get yourself a Strong's Concordance. Whatever your attribute is, you look up that word in the Hebrew, go back to the back of the concordance and see that Hebrew word. And that's your attribute. Usually names had purposes in the Old Testament and in the Bible itself. Every name has a purpose. My name is Rawchaa, which means spirit of songs. Why? Because it's easy for me to sing and it's easy for me to do songs. That it came easy for me as a child. So they started calling me Rawchaa, spirit of songs. Come to find out, I thought it was for singing, but it was the Most High saying, okay, you got to project your voice and teach people. That was the real spirit. It had nothing to do with what I thought it was. So still, names is related to your attribute or whatever, who you are. So you figure that out. What is your quality? Who you are as a person that you've found to be true. And you go into the concordance, look up the word, Strong's Concordance, and get your own Hebrew name. It's that simple. What's next?
Can you explain Romans 9:24 through 26?
Can you read Romans 9:24? through 26. I'm only got a few, and then I can wish you all Godspeed.
Romans 9 and 24. Even us, whom he have called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles.
Well, you have to realize he says even us. So, what is Paul? Paul is what? An Israelite. Go to Romans 11 and 1.
Romans 11 and 1. I say then, have God cast away his people?
Have God cast away his people?
God forbid.
God forbid.
For I am also an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
So Paul was from Benjamin. He was an Israelite. So why is he including himself in Gentiles? Read Romans 9 and 24 through 26 again.
Even us.
Now that it has been established that Paul is what? An Israelite. Read.
Even us whom he have called, not of the Jews only.
Even us whom he have called, not of the Jews only, but what?
But also of the Gentiles.
But also of the Gentiles. So why was Paul calling himself a Gentile? Because Israel was scattered throughout the four corners of the earth and learned the customs and ways of the Gentiles. The same way Paul was operating like a Roman against our people. A child of God wouldn't kill his own people, but at one time he was acting like a Gentile. So that even us is speaking of Israelites. Why? Because you had Israelites who were the circumcised calling their own people uncircumcised. And Paul was chastising them, telling them, listen, you cannot look down on your own brothers because they've been programmed and scattered throughout the nations. Because their promise is our promise. And see, the Christians have messed this up by making people believe this is saying that all people are equal regardless of race. Paul wasn't speaking of that. He was speaking of Jews that were looking down on their own brothers, calling them uncircumcised. Read it again.
Even us.
Even us.
Whom he have called, not of the Jews only.
Not of the Jews only. Now we know Paul was under the Jews. So why is he saying even us? Because at one time he was operating like a Gentile against his people through the power of the Roman Empire. Read.
But also of the Gentiles.
Why was Paul including himself as a Gentile when we know he was an Israelite? See, that's the point Christians ignore. Read.
25. As he saith also in Hosea, I will call them my people, which were not my people. And
Hold up. He says in what?
I will call them my people, which were not my people.
He said it in what?
In Hosea.
He said it in Hosea, right? So in order to clear this up, let's go to Hosea and quote what Paul is quoting from to give clarity to these Gentiles. Let's go to Hosea 1, because this is where Paul was quoting from, and start at the 9th verse.
Hosea chapter 1 verse 9. Then said God, call his name Lawya.
Read the 10th verse.
Verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel.
The number of Gentiles?
The number of the children of Israel.
Gentiles.
The number of the children of Israel.
Read.
Shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass.
It shall come to pass what?
That in that place.
That in that place.
Where it was said unto them.
That it was said unto Israelites.
Ye are not my people.
Ye are not my people.
There it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God.
There it shall be said unto them that ye are the children of God. That's what Paul was bringing forth. He was fulfilling that. Let's go back and read it again.
25 to 26. And he said also unto Hosea, I will call them my people, which were not my people.
See, where you say that at? In Hosea 1 and 10. These are Israelites that were scattered and learned the way of the Gentiles. That's why Paul was sent. He taught the Gentiles, knowing that our people were scattered amongst them. See? Read.
And her beloved, which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in a place where it was said unto them,
Who was them? Israel.
Ye are not my people.
The same place like in America. We wasn't told we were Israelites. We were told that I'm an African American. I'm 2 continents. Oh, I'm Negro. I'm the black man. In the same place it was said that ye are not my people, because God don't know nobody named Negro or black or African American. He never named us that. So in the same place that it was said that we were some other people, read,
there shall you be called the children of the living God.
in that same land you will realize that you are the children of Israel that are scattered due to a curse from your forefathers. See, it's more simpler to understand it this way than how the Christians are teaching. It's not like Paul was just sent to non-Israelites. That's ridiculous. But he had to teach the Gentiles, knowing that Israelites were scattered amongst them. And he treated the Gentiles righteously and told the Gentiles what's their reward for serving the living God. Along with telling our people in a Gentile state of mind, you are the children of the Most High. It's time to take your rightful place on this earth. Next.
Elders can't wait for the academy lesson tomorrow. Also, can you please speak on the Bible speaking or the false speaking in tongues? There's a brother that's new to the truth, thinks speaking in tongues in his false church was right in the spirit of the Most High.
Well, I'm going to tell you the issue here. The issue is how we address these people who are in darkness like we once were. Mm-hmm. To say that, okay, this brother in his false church is learning this. See, that's an automatic offense. Because that's where he's going as a refuge away from the rest of this world. And it's doing him good because at least he's choosing to be right in an evil society. Right? So let's not demonize or just attack his foundation. But let's just speak of what the speaking in tongues are. All right. Speaking in tongues, number one, according to Paul in the Corinthians 11th chapter, right? 14th chapter. 14. Corinthians 14 tells us that you cannot speak in a tongue, an unknown tongue, without an interpreter. And if there's no interpreter, which is two or more that understand what language he's saying, because it must be a language spoken on earth, then that person must be quiet. Can't say nothing in the church. So that throws out the whole speaking in tongues in church doctrine altogether. Because you cannot say anything in the church from an unknown language coming from God and not warn the people from God. If God is speaking, I want to know what's going on up in the room. So if there's no one, so what happens is, this is how Paul said you must deal with it according to Corinthians 14. I'm going to preference it because it's a long teaching. You can teach it. You can type in gathering of Christ speaking in tongues and you will see me deal with the whole thing. But in a nutshell, to preference it for you. All right? Just to preference it for you. If someone is speaking in an unknown tongue, that means we're sitting there singing or we going through the Bible and somebody go, oh, and start saying some stuff. I mean, whatever it is. I don't want to repeat it because a lot of it be Latin. But then everyone need to stop now, right? Everyone stop what they're doing. And they look at this person speaking this unknown tongue and say, oh, he's speaking something that God needs us to hear. Is there anyone in the room that knows what he's speaking? Raise your hand. That's how it's supposed to go according to Paul. If no one raises their hand, then two men must usher this person out of the building. Because if we don't know if it's coming from God, we don't know whether or not it's coming from who? Satan. So Paul said, listen, if that's a gift of yours, then you got to speak to God alone in your house. If there's no interpreter, to prove to you that that language must be a language that's spoken on earth. Right there. And the speaking of tongues in Acts, the 2nd chapter, wasn't some people just gathered together speaking some stuff and falling out and not understanding what they're saying. Read Acts 2 again. The Most High gave Peter and the disciples the gift of tongues to interpret so that they can take the gospel or the witness of Christ's resurrection and death, his death and resurrection throughout the four corners of the earth in each Jew's respective language. So the gift of tongues was You being able to hear someone speaking in their tongue and hear them in your language, and vice versa. So it's the Most High actually taking away the curse that was placed at the Tower of Babel when he split the tongue so that people could not communicate. For that moment in Acts, the 2nd chapter, the Most High undid that and made it where everyone can communicate, even though they spoke different languages, so that the Jews can take the gospel in their own language to their respective lands. It's still edification. The gift of tongues is to edify so that people can understand the Bible. Not to say some stuff no one know what you're talking about. That's what we call what? Channeling. How do you know it's not a demon? And the majority of them is demons. When you look at the history of the speaking of tongues in America, it started with a faction of the Christian church in the South dealing with snakes. They would pull out snakes and all that and channel demons. They took out the snakes and continued the tongue. So the snake tongue is still there. So Paul made a distinction and said, if you're going to come up in this building talking some stuff that we don't know, somebody better know what you're talking about. If there's no interpreter, you can't verify what you're saying is from God. Therefore, go home and speak to God. The church is for edification. All right. So this speaking in tongues madness got to stop in these churches, because it's not even speaking in tongues. It's channeling. Speaking in tongues is for edification, where someone can speak in another language. Just say if someone is saying that Christ said that we must leave out of this building because something is coming here, but someone is saying it in Spanish. And here it is, the whole church, a bunch of black people. But someone stand up and say, hold up, I know what he's saying. I took Spanish class. We better get up out of here. God said that something is coming. See, that's edification. Everybody's like, okay, let's form a line and get up out of here because we just been warned. See, that's edification. Okay? What's next? We only got a few more to answer it. I'm past my 10 minutes, so let's go straight to it.
Someone says, Elder Shalom, I enrolled in the Academy Sunday. When will I get registered?
If you want to enroll, send an email to gatheringas1@aol.com. You can do it now, or you can do it right afterwards, and you can be in tomorrow. We'll make sure you process. You're right in. Any other questions? Do me a favor, send an email to gatheringas1@aol.com. If I missed your questions, I apologize, but I'm beyond the time of questioning. Get ready for Elder Gabar. Stay in the spirit and keep in mind everything that was taught today. And we're going to keep our Sabbath from Sabbath to Sabbath until Christ returns. And we're going to stay in the spirit of Christ and help release our brothers and sisters from their prison going forward. With that, I'm going to say shalom. Stay in the spirit.
Shalom.